Good morning, students. So, as we move on with the module number one till today, so we have discussed various crystal structure and the properties related to that one. And in the previous class, so we have seen what is the stress, what is the strain, how we can draw the stress strain curve, and in that one, what is the true strain, what is the engineering strain, and what is the true stress and engineering stress, and what is the relationship exists between a true stress and engineering stress and a true strain and a engineering strain. So now we will see what are the different types of stress strain curve which exists for various types of materials. Okay, a ductile or a brittle, okay, or a plastic or a ceramic. So how the stress strain curve is going to differ for a different materials. So once we see here the curve drawn, a stress versus a strain. Okay, so you can see the various types of material are going to behave in a different way. Say for example, in the previous class, so we have seen how a ductile material is going to behave under a tension or a tensile load. So we can clearly see there is a linear behavior and it yields and the load drops down and goes to the maximum, that is the ultimate strength, then it breaks up. Means here we can clearly see the yield point phenomenon in a ductile material. But if you take a brittle material like a cast iron, okay, so if you are going to apply a tensile load to that one, so there will be a linearity between a stress and a strain, but it breaks without showing any elongation. Okay, so before showing the yield point itself, okay, the material will break. Means there will not be any considerable elongation under a tension. Okay, so a material which is not ductile, okay, and nor that much brittle, so it will come in between the ductile and brittle material where we can observe a little bit elongation, so after the elastic limit. Okay, but if you take up any plastic material, they are not in a position to take up the load. They won't provide any resistance to the applied load, so they will not show the linearity between a stress and a strain. Instead of that one, they will show a elongation and they will break. Okay, so there is no proper relation between a stress and a strain. Means there is no linear proportionality between a stress and a strain. Means clearly we can see here, okay, only in a ductile material we can see a clear picture of yield point, that is a elongation. So means we can observe after that point the load bearing capacity will drop and will take up. That is what in other words we say strain hardening. Strain hardening means a material after taking to a load, so the load capacity will drops down. Means the breaking of the atomic bonds will take place and they starts rearranging themselves to show the resistance to the applied load. Okay, means here what we can expect is draw the stress strain curve for different types of a material, okay, and explain the behavior. So you can drop it for a brittle material, you can drop it for a ductile material, and you can drop it for a material which is not a brittle, neither a ductile, and a plastic material. Okay. So now as we move on, once we take an example of a ductile material, okay, so the stress strain curve will look like this. Okay, so the linearity, that is the linear proportionality between stress and strain, is called as a Hooke's law, where it says within the elastic limit the stress is directly proportional to the strain. Or to remove that proportionality, we have introduced a capital E, that is a Young's modulus, which is nothing but the measure of a stiffness. Okay, so as the slope increases, the stiffness of the material increases. Okay, so in that one, first point which we are going to get in the stress strain curve is a proportionality limit. Okay, so means within that limit sigma is directly proportional to the epsilon naught, or in other words, where we can say Hooke's law is applicable. So as we increase the load, we will see the elastic limit. Means it's a limit below which the material behaves like a elastic material. Means whatever the load which we applied, when we are going to remove, it will regain its original shape. Okay, in other words, we can say that is the a point after which the plastic deformation of a material will take place. Okay, so once the elastic limit crosses, then the material starts yielding. Yielding is nothing but the material starts increasing its length. Okay, so means the material shows a resistance to the applied load. Okay, so at that point we are going to get a tip where we say that one as a upper yield point. Upper yield point is the one where the bonding between the atoms is going to starts breaking. Okay, so once the bonding starts breaks, okay, the capacity of the material to withstand the load starts decreasing. Okay, so only the curve will drops down. Here you can say the curve will drops down, or in other words, the load bearing capacity of the material drops down. This is due to the breakage of the atomic bonds. Okay, so this whatever the constant, that is a constant line indicates, now in this position the atoms are moving across each other to arrange themselves. Means if there is a positive and a negative dislocation, they starts piling up each other. They will coalesce each other and they will form a perfect plane of atoms. Okay, so that rearrangement will keep on taking place until there is a match between the dislocations, that is a positive and a negative dislocation. So that part we are going to call it as a lower yield point. Okay, so once the arrangement completes, then once again they start showing the resistance to the applied load. You can see again the curve starts, or the line starts increasing here. Okay, so as the line starts increases here, you can see the strain in the material starts increasing. Okay, so the region in which the proportionality appears is a elastic region, and where the region where the metallic bonds breaks up and rearrange themselves is a yielding, and the region where again once again the material starts opposes or gives a resistance to the applied load, that is what is called as a strain hardening. Okay, so strain hardening is due to the rearrangement of the atoms. It opposes, okay, or it shows more resistance to the applied load. Okay, now once we cross this point, so we'll differentiate this true strain and engineering strain. Okay, the true strain is nothing but what we said. So as the load increases here, okay, the length increases but the diameter decreases. But here, so we will take only the original area to calculate the stress, that is a sigma is equal to p by a naught. But for this curve we will take p by ai. Okay, because of that denominator decreasing, the curve starts increasing here. Here the denominator remains constant, the load keeps on decreases, so the curve starts decreasing. Okay, so before showing the dip down, it will show a peak point which is called as a sigma u, that is a ultimate strength. Okay, so that is nothing but the maximum load which a material can withstand, that is what is we called as a sigma u. So once it is attained, so there is a localized necking. Necking means there will be a localized decrease in the area. Okay, so then the capacity of the material to withstand the load drops down. Okay, and it leads to the fracture. So this is a true fracture, and this is a nominal or a engineering fracture. Okay, so as we have seen in the previous slide, so most of the ductile material we show the linearity, but even though if you take an example of aluminum, okay, which is a ductile material, so the linearity will not remain same. Okay, it will not show a straight line, it will be like a curved line. Okay, so at that time we will not be in a position to find out the exact yield point. At that time we need to go for a offset yield point. Okay, so that will take up as we move on. Now, so once we go with this region, okay, so as we discussed, so there may be a linear or maybe non-linear. Say for a steels it's a linear, for aluminum it is a non-linear, we will not get a straight line. Okay, so the property which we are going to determine with the help of this region, we are going to call it as a linear elastic property or a non-linear elastic property. So linear means if this curve, okay, that is the relationship between a stress and a strain, if it shows a linear straight line, okay, a linear proportionality, then this property we are going to call as a linear elastic property. If not, we are going to call it as a non-linear elastic property. So initially we will take up a linear elastic property. So linear elastic properties means the stress is directly proportional to the strain, and we are going to get a proper slope, okay, to find out the E, that is a Young's modulus. So already we have discussed the Young's modulus is nothing but a measurement of stiffness of a material. Okay, so how we are going to measure the stiffness of a material? So as we have already seen, so if we are going to take a, this is a linear proportionality. Okay, so if I'm going to take the slope of this one, that is delta sigma. Okay, this is a del epsilon naught. So if I take a E is equal to, so del sigma divided by del epsilon naught. Okay, so this whatever the measurement of this E, that is a Young's modulus or slope of this curve, is nothing but a stiffness. Okay, so now as the slope increases, the stiffness of a material increases. So stiffness means, see, whenever we are going to apply a load on that one, okay, so it will easily regain its original shape. Say for example, a steel rule. Okay, so if you are going to hold it at one end, and if you are going to oscillate from one more end, so once that vibration comes to zero, again it will come to the its original position. Okay, so that is what is a stiffness. Then next thing is elastic strength. Okay, so elastic strength is a point where the plastic deformation starts, or you can say the elastic deformation ends. Okay, so below that point the material behaves like a elastic material. Above that one the material starts behaving like a plastic material. Okay, so what is elastic? I said so elastic is something, once we are going to remove the load in this region, it regains its original shape. Okay, so if it is a plastic deformation, so once we are going to what you call remove that load, it will not regain its original shape. whatever the deformation which is going to caused in that material will remain permanent in that one, will permanent in that one. Okay, so that is what is elastic strength. So elastic strength is measured by taking a point here. Okay, so where the material takes a bend. Okay, so this region, okay, so we are going to call it as a sigma e, that is a elastic limit. So elastic limit sigma e, okay, we can write the load at elastic divided by a naught. Okay, so that is what is elastic strength. So whenever we say a strength is nothing but a load divided by that area. Okay, so now the next concept is resilience. Okay, so what is the resilience? So resilience is a property of a material by virtue of which it absorbs the energy in elastic region. Okay, so if I am going to apply the load in this region, okay, whatever the amount of energy which a material absorbs when it is loaded, so that is nothing but a resilience. Okay, so how we are going to measure the resilience? So resilience is measured so as a modulus of resilience. So this is the region. Okay, after this one there will be yield point and it increases. So this is the region. Okay, the area under this curve, okay, is nothing but a modulus of a resilience. So if you clearly see, so this is our sigma, so this is our epsilon naught. Okay, if I want to measure the area under this one, I can say this is my a, this point is b, and this point is a c. So the area of a triangle abc is nothing but a modulus of a resilience. So we can write it as a of into the base, that is a epsilon naught, into the height is a sigma. Okay, or else we can write it as a half into epsilon naught, we can write as a sigma divided by e into sigma, or else we can write that one as a half into sigma square divided by e. Okay, so that's how exactly we're going to measure the resilience. Okay, so resilience is nothing but the amount of energy absorbed by the material during the elastic deformation. Okay, okay, so now whatever we have seen in the previous one, okay, just to say what is the stiffness. So stiffness is measured or a resistance of a material to deform under the load in the elastic state, or it is measured in terms of a modulus of a elasticity. Okay, the slope of a linear portion between a stress and a strain is nothing but a Young's modulus. Okay, so higher the value of a E is nothing but a higher the stiffness. Okay, so you can see the stiffness for a various material which can be measured using this one. Okay, so you can see, okay, for a steel it is a 10 power of 11, for a plastic 9, it's a rubber 10 power of 6, and a gel it's a 10 power of 5. Okay, so next property is a elastic strength. So where we said, so highest strength at which the material starts behaves like a elastic. So it is a minimum stress below which or above which the material starts behaving plastic. Okay, so here you can see, okay, so first is a proportionality limit and next one is a elastic limit. Okay, that is the start of a plastic deformation. Okay, so next one what we discussed is a resilience. So resilience is the ability of a material to absorb energy when it is deformed elastically. This is a very important one. When it is deformed elastically, the amount of energy which it has absorbed is a resilience. So here we are going to measure that energy per volume. Okay, the strain energy per unit volume, or else if you write a simple stress strain curve, we can write modulus of resilience will be equal to half into base into height, that is a half into epsilon naught into sigma. or else if you substitute for epsilon naught, we know sigma is equal to epsilon E into epsilon naught. Okay, so if you substitute that one, so we are going to get so modulus of resilience will be equal to sigma square divided by 2E. Okay, so whenever if it is asked to calculate the resilience, okay, so in the region of linear elastic, so easily we can calculate using this formula. Okay, so these are the three which are very important for a linear elastic property. Okay, so in the question they may ask like explain the linear elastic property for a 9 marks or a 6 marks. Okay, so which carries a 2 or a 3 marks for each property. Okay, so where we will say a stiffness and a elastic strength and a resilience. Okay, so if you are not going to get a linear curve, okay, or a linearity between a stress strain curve, say if it is a linear, so we would have got a straight line like this. Okay, so easily we would have taken a slope like this, but now here it is a non-linear. Non-linear means there is no straight line, it goes like this. Okay, so at this point how to find the stiffness, okay, or elastic strength or resilience. Okay, so in order to find that one here, so we have 3 points. Okay, so one is a common, okay, resilience, whatever we discussed in the previous one, but here the calculation method of a resilience will be different, but definition will remain same. So the resilience is nothing but a amount of energy absorbed in a elastic region. Okay, but to measure the elastic strength as well as the stiffness, we use two methods. Okay, so one is a secant modulus and one is a tangent modulus. So what is that secant modulus? Okay, so here you can see, so this is our curve. Okay, so secant means first thing we will specify some stress. Okay, so this is a specified stress. Okay, so we are going to specify some stress. So from that one we will drop a line. From there we will drop one a linear line which starts from the origin, and we are going to take the slope of that line. Okay, so for that one what we'll write, so E, that is a stiffness Young's modulus, will be equal to del sigma by del epsilon naught to the specified stress. Okay, say for example if the stress is moved from this line to this line, then what we'll do, we are going to take up okay, the load at this point, and we are going to write the equation. Okay, so next method, so if you are not able to drop a line, okay, to a specified stress, then one more method is a tangent modulus. Okay, so what is the tangent modulus? So for this non-linear curve, taking any one point, that is a specified stress. Okay, so we are going to draw a tangent to this linear non-linear curve. Okay, so once we are going to drop a tangent to this one, so we are going to take a slope for that one. So you can say here. Okay, this again the calculation will remain same. E is equal to del sigma divided by del epsilon naught to a specified stress. Okay, so this is the specified stress. So previously they specified the stress here, they specified the stress here. For that one we have drawn a linear curve starting from the origin, which was something like a parallel to the non-linear, and we took the slope. But when it is a tangent modulus, we are going to drop a tangent to that point. Which point? The specified yield point. Then we will calculate the E. Okay, that is a Young's modulus. That is nothing but a stiffness of a material. That is the first property in the non-linear elastic property. The second property, that is a elastic strength, will remain same, where we will write it is a point below which the material behaves like a elastic one, or above which the material starts behaving like a plastic, or the maximum stress at which the material starts behaves elastic, or the minimum stress at which the material starts behaving plastic. Okay, so Even if they specify a tangent point at this point, you can drop a tangent here also, and you can take the slope of this one. Okay, so the next one is the resilience. Okay, so resilience, so as we seen for a this one linear property, so now here it's a non-linear, the curve is not a linear one. So at that time the modulus of resilience is can be calculated by using area under unloading. This is area under unloading divided by area under loading, or else recoverable energy to the invested energy. Which is a recoverable? The one which is unloading. So after unloading, how much energy it is going to recover? Okay, so to that one, so the energy we invested for a loading, so this curve. Okay, so that is nothing but a modulus of resilience and for a non-linear curve. Okay, so when it is asked for a non-linear elastic property, so at that moment you need to explain these three. Which are the three? One is a secant modulus for a specified stress, one is a tangent modulus for a specified stress, and one more is a resilience for a non-linear property, where we will say modulus of resilience is a ratio of area under loading, unloading to the area under loading. Okay, so that's about the linear and non-linear elastic property. Means the line. Okay, so once we start discussing about the stress line curve, the first region, that is the elastic region, so and the that one. Okay, so after the elastic strength, the first point, okay, so which we are going to get is the yield point. Okay, or in other words we can call it as a yield strength. So yield strength is nothing but the strength corresponding to the yield point. Okay, so the point where the elongation, okay, or the deformation of the material is going to start is nothing but a yield point. So as already I said, so yield point is the one where we are going to differentiate, okay, in a ductile material, one as the upper yield point and one as a lower yield point. So upper yield point is the one where, okay, the material atomic bond starts, or the metallic bond starts breaking, and once the bonding breaks, the material will lose its ability to withstand the load. So we can see there is a drops down in the load bearing capacity or resistance of the material. Okay, and once it is done, okay, so we can clearly see there is a constant line, okay, a straight line, okay, which shows no increase or no decrease in the resistance. Means in that region, so there is a proper arrangement of these atoms, okay, or in other words what we said, dislocations, okay, will take place, and they will arrange themselves. Okay, once they set together, okay, so at this point they starts showing once again the resistance to the applied load. Okay, so how exactly that yield point is going to occur? So so as you can see here, okay, so this is the upper yield point. Okay, so once the bonding starts breaking, the load drops down. Okay, and at this moment you can see, okay, so the upper yield point, so we can see there are bands, okay, which are going to appear at a 45 degree. Okay, and once you are going to see it from here, okay, the bands will propagate throughout the length of the material. Okay, the one who invented those bands is Luder. Okay, so because of his name, so those bands are called as a Luder bands. Okay, so at upper yield point, okay, you can see a small bands, okay, because of a deformed metal will form near the stress concentration points. Okay, if there are any holes or maybe sharp edges, there they are going to apply, and these bands will propagate along the length of the specimen. Means that shows there is a movement of the atomic bonds, okay, the atoms from one position to the other position, or we can, in other words we can say there is a dislocation movement within the material, and these bands are at the 45 degree to the applied load, and once these bands propagate throughout the length, okay, then again the material starts showing a resistance to the applied load. Okay, so means there will be Steinarding, we say. Steinarding means if you remove the load at any point here, okay, the next point the material will show a max, that is a improved resistance to the applied load. Okay, so this is what we say a yield point phenomenon. Okay, an yield point phenomenon where, okay, so the moment of the dislocation or the atomic rearrangement will take place, and because of that one, so the material will show more resistance. Okay, and so if you see that one microscopically, you can see the bands, that is Ludar bands, which are going to appear on the surface of the metal or that specimen. Okay, so once we move on with the yield point, as already I said in the first slide, so if it is a linear one, so it is very easy to find out the yield point, or where the material starts behaving plastically. Okay, the deviation of this linearity. Okay, but in a non-linear elastic regions, it is very difficult to find the yield strength. Okay, there is no clear indication in the yield point. At that moment, we use a method called offset yield strength. Okay, offset means it is the curve or the line is offset to a particular distance. Okay, so normally in general we take a 0.2% of a strain. Okay, 0.2% of a strain is nothing but a 0.002. Okay, so we'll move on a x direction. Okay, we'll take a 0.02% of a strain, and we'll drop a line which is nearly parallel to the this non-linear curve, and wherever this line, that is a offset line, meets that curve, that is a non-linear curve. Okay, so from there we are going to drop a horizontal line, and wherever it meets with the stress line, so that is nothing but a yield strength. Okay, so this whatever the percentage, in general we take a 0.2, but again it depends on the material, where sometimes we may take it as a 0.5 also, or 1% also. Okay, or a 2% also. Means it depends on the stress strain curve. Okay, so if it is much bent, okay, if it is much non-linear and all, so it is very, at that time it is very difficult to take a offset line. So at that time we can consider a little more percentage of the strain. Okay, so this is what is offset yield point. Okay, so by this method we can find the yield strength corresponding to the 0.2% of a strain. Okay, so this is again one more non-linear elastic property, or they may ask like explain the offset yield strength. Okay, or offset yield strength point, how to find the offset yield point also. Okay, so now, so a little bit enlarged one, so they have shown it here also. Okay, this is a 0.02, so here little bit small, so they have enlarged, and we are going to take a strip for this one. Okay, so that is nothing but a stiffness which you're going to get it for that one, or the curve at which it meets, and if you take that one to the left side and where it cuts with the stress curve, so that is nothing but a yield strength, so which we are going to get. So as we move on now, okay, so as I said, so there will be a more resistance due to the rearrangement of the atoms. Okay, or the dislocation. Because of that one, the load bearing capacity of the material starts increasing. Okay, and once we move on, there is a maximum load, okay, by which the material takes up is nothing but a ultimate strength. So ultimate strength sigma u is nothing but a p max divided by a naught. Okay, so that is the original area. Okay, so p max is the maximum load a material can withstand, or ultimate strength is nothing but it is the maximum stress a material can show for a applied load. So after this point there will be necking. Okay, necking means there will be a localized decrease in the area. Say for example, if I have a rod like this, so at this point there may be a decrease in the diameter will take place like this, like this. So this is what is called as a necking. Okay, so once this necking moves on, okay, so we can see. Okay, so in order to measure, okay, before that one, so what is the length, okay, before fracture, okay, so what is the increase in the length, okay, or what is the decrease in the area, that is the diameter, or in other words what we say a ductility and a malleability. Okay, so ductility is nothing but a property by virtue of which it can be drawn into thin wires. So when we are going to draw into thin wires, there is an increase in the length but a decrease in the area. Okay, that is nothing but a measure of a ductility. Okay, so how we are going to measure the ductility? We are going to measure the ductility, okay, by virtue of which there is an increase in the area or a decrease in the decrease in the area or increase in the length, or else we can see at the time of a fracture the final length minus original length divided by original length into 100 will give a percentage increase in the length, or else the reduction in the area is nothing but a so a initial minus a final divided by a initial into 100. So that's how exactly we will ductility. Okay, so this is what I said necking. Okay, so this is what I said localized reduction in the area or increase in the length or decrease in the area. Okay, so you can see like this increase in the length, and if you see like this there is a decrease in the area. Okay, so that's what is going to happen once we are going to come necking. Okay, so that is the fracture point. So when it comes to the fracture point, okay, so we have one more property of a material, what is called as a toughness. Okay, so we have discussed, if you can recall, resilience is nothing but a area under elastic deformation. So now toughness is the area under the plastic deformation. So plastic deformation is nothing but a total area, the area from 0 to the final point. Okay, or else we can say in other words as so it is the ability of a material to absorb the energy in a plastic region. So resilience we said absorb energy in a elastic region. So here we say in a plastic region. So how exactly we can measure the toughness? So we can measure the toughness, the area under this curve, that is a stress strain curve. Okay, again here we measure this one in terms of a unit volume. Okay, so at last we'll see the fracture. Okay, so this is the fracture point, the 3 and the 3. Okay, so this is our initial area, that is a naught. Okay, so when it comes to the final fracture the area is decreased and we say that one as a true, that is a true stress or else a true breaking stress. This is a engineering breaking stress. So engineering breaking stress is nothing but the load at the break point divided by original area, but the true stress is nothing but the load at a breaking point divided by instantaneous area. Instantaneous means the diameter which is there at this point will be measured to find this one. Okay, so engineering stress so is nothing but the load at this point divided by original area. Okay, or true stress is nothing but load at this point divided by instantaneous area. Instantaneous means at this point whatever the diameter is there, that will be taken to calculate the area. Okay, so that's how exactly we can see the different points. Okay, so what are the properties which we have discussed? So in the elastic region, okay, so stiffness, elastic strength, resilience, then we have discussed upper yield point, lower yield point, what is the offset yield method, okay, ultimate strength and a breaking strength, and how to measure the toughness of a material. Okay, just to see what are the things. Okay, so we have discussed that to measure those things will take up a few problems. Okay, so here following are tensile test results. Okay, having a diameter, that's the initial diameter, and a 200 mm length, that is the initial length. Extension at a load 50 kilonewton is a 0.1. Okay, so that's a load and this is a delta L. For this load this is the elongation. Load at a elastic limit, that is a PE. Okay, maximum load, that is a P max. So total extension, that's a total delta L. Okay, or you can say LF also. Diameter of a load at a failure, this is the DI. Okay, now calculate a Young's modulus, percentage elongation and percentage decrease in the area. So D naught, L naught, P, okay, extension delta L at this load. Okay, so load at elastic PE, maximum load P max. Okay, total elongation, that is a LF minus a L naught, will be equal to 50 mm. Okay, and the final diameter is a DF. So once we see here, so first thing, Young's modulus. So in order to calculate the Young's modulus, we need a sigma by epsilon naught. So sigma can be calculated by P by A naught. P they have given 50 kilonewton. Okay, A naught, that is the initial diameter. Taking initial diameter, calculate the area. So you will get a sigma is equal to 70.73. To calculate the strain, so we have epsilon naught is equal to delta L by L naught. So at this load, the elongation is a 0.1 and the total length, that is the initial length, is a 200. So we'll get epsilon naught as a 0.5 into 10 power of minus 3, and E you will get as a 141.46 into 10 power of 3 Newton per mm square. Okay. Now to calculate the percentage elongation, so we know, so L final minus L naught divided by L naught into 100. Okay, so the total elongation they have given as a 50 mm. So 50 divided by original length 200 will give a 25%. Okay, and to find the percentage decrease in the area, already we know what is A naught. So DF, that is the final diameter they have given. So calculate the AF corresponding to the DF. So substitute here. Okay, so we'll get a 55.5 percentage. Means you can, they can ask directly calculate the percentage elongation or a percentage decrease in the area, or in other words they can ask it directly, so calculate the or measure the ductility in the material. Okay, so these are the two problems for a practice sessions. You just take down and just do in the way which you have done the practice problem.